promise to keep you very awake. So, all right, welcome. Everybody, I see some new faces here listening for me. So, welcome to our Spiritist group. Today we're gonna have a talk here, and we do that every first Tuesday of the month. Today, I have the honor to be here and be able to talk to you guys. So, I really appreciate you guys coming. And so, as always, for people that are here for the first time, we do the talk. You may ask your questions. If you want to save it to the end, it's fine. In my case, if you have anything to talk about what I'm talking about here, I'm fine. Just raise your hand and we can discuss this. And after the talk, we have the passes right there. It's optional. Anybody can take it or just say that they don't want. But I highly recommend it, which is an exchange of energy. If that's the first time that you'll be on a Spiritist center, that's what we do. So, one thing about Spiritism, when you think like a Spiritist for the first time, I don't know, what the first thing that comes to my mind when someone says, yeah, I'm a Spiritist. Oh, you believe in? Someone's going to say, reincarnation, talking to the dead, or, you know,
several lives
and things like this, when actually, basically what the Gospel according to Spiritism says is, without charity there is no salvation. So it doesn't matter if you're a medium, it doesn't matter if you talk to the spirits or if you have multiple lives or whatever, until you learn what to do with this, it looks like you're not fine yet. There's some way to go. So that's the thing that I'm going to discuss tonight, and I'm going to approach it on a little bit different way that I've seen when I saw some of the talks, and I hope you guys like it. And first thing I have to do is to press the right button. All right, so here we go. It all starts like on the Christianity. We start talking about charity when Paul wrote a letter, one of its epistles, to the Corinthians. It's hard for me to say this word, to Corinthians.
Yeah, because you have to explain to some. It's a soccer team that you don't root for, right?
Exactly. So, Paul wrote to the Corinthians that they needed salvation, you know, and on the chapter 13, and he wrote this. Si linguis hominus loquar et angelorum caritatem autem, non habean factus sum velut. Well, you guys get the idea, right? That's the Latin translation to it. People from Brazil, you guys may have heard on the radio or have the CD, a song from Legião Urbana that starts, ainda que eu falasse a língua dos homens e falasse a língua dos anjos sem... Ele fala amor. He says amor. I'll be nothing. Okay, that's one of the things that I want to discuss here. So basically,
what it means?
Basically, the translation for this is, though I speak with the tongues of men and angels, and have not charity, I am become a sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And then here, nunc autem manifant, etc. And now, that's the beginning, and that's the end. So the last here's the versicle first, and that's the 13th. And now, abideth faith, hope, charity. These three. But the greatest of this is charity. So basically, the only thing that matters is faith, hope, and charity. But among the three of them, pick charity. So there is a song that talks about love, and here talking about charity. And if you read, I know all of you read the email that Fernanda says every Sunday, the weekend at a glance. So it says, this Tuesday we're going to have a talk. Without love, there is no salvation. And if you get our book, the edition that we have on our book, chapter 15, that's what it says. Without love, there is no salvation. And I comment, I bring, without charity, there is no salvation. So I ask, is love and charity the same thing? Why do we have these two, that even within Spiritism, we have these two? So I went to the source I cannot read this the way you should, but it's L'Évangile selon le Spiritisme, which is French. That's supposed to be the original one. And then I open chapter 15, and then I go here on the page, and then it says, Quand je parlais toutes les langues des hommes et les langues des anges, même si je n'ai point la charité, well, I guess, charity. Exactly, charité sounds more like charity than love, I believe, right? Love right. Is more l'amour, right?
Right.
So,
can I just say something?
Yes,
Maybe
please.
you're going to conclude before
Okay.
I say.
All right, so here are some translations of this letter that Paul wrote. Let's see them. He wrote to the Greeks of the church saying this: If I speak in the tongue of the angels, but I do not have love, and there is some. That's one of the translations that we find in English. If I speak the tongues of men and angels, but do not have love, I'm only a resounding gong and a clanging cymbal. Other translation that we see there: Though I speak with the tongues of men and angels, and I have not charity, I become a sounding brass, tickling cymbal. So we're talking here about the translation of the translation of a translation. So we have to go to the source and try to understand why those things are translated like this. And that's what I'm going to discuss. Because if love and charity were the same thing, we would have just one word. Right? And no, actually it helps. So if you want to understand what he wrote, you can please read this. That's the original text. Or that's believed to be the original text. Why? Because all the epistles, they were wrote in Greek. Back then, Greek were the English. You know, so the international language or the language of the sophisticated people, all the Gospels, they were written in ancient Greek. So, pretty much, what I was able to identify is that this thing here is the part that is causing the discussion, either English or either charity or love. Can anyone help me in translating this?
Charity.
Oh, okay.
Later.
All right. So, as you guys probably know, around the 300s, people at Rome, the Christians at Rome, they started compiling what they call the Vulgata Latina. That was the first version of the Bible. And who was responsible for this was Saint Jerome. And when he was debating, okay, how do I translate this from Greek that was already... Think about this. Remember when you were young, some of these slangs that you used back then, that if anyone says today, you say, oh man, that sounds so dated. You're giving up your age, you know? Like, yeah, that's da hora, or whatever, you know? Or like 60 years from now, you say, dude, what makes sense, you know? Imagine 300 years, how much the language changes, right? So, 382, maybe, you know, Paul wrote his epistle on the year 100 or something like this. So 300 years later, this Pope, not this Pope, but this bishop, he decided to translate this word here because of the context of everything as caritas, which is charity in English. And he explains why for that. And what made him decide to translate as charity back then still makes sense today. Think about English. To love someone. How many types of love we can think of? You can have a filial love, you can have parental love, you can make love. You can love unconditionally what? Think about charity. How many things you can think about charity? Only one thing comes to mind. Or I can only think of one thing. But back then, with Rome getting out of the empire, you had a way stronger erotic sense than you had today. The word amor, that was, you know, love for in Latin. So he said, no, that's not what Paul is talking about. He's talking about charity. So then, on the Vulgata Latina, the first translation from Greek into Latin, he translated this word here, that I have no idea how to pronounce, into charity. And that's how it all started. As time passed, there were more translations from Greek into Latin and from Latin into other languages. It wasn't until the German guy, Martin Luther, that was the first one to translate the Bible to other language, that was to German. Until then, it was basically the Romans translating into different forms of Latin. Before that, so the translation evolved during the years, things lost. And even though, for instance, Portuguese is a language that came from Latin, the word charity and love, they're completely different. As we go to the root, which is Greek, well, then, we got lost. So this is so important into the idea of Spiritism, even more than believing in reincarnation, believing in that we can talk to the spirits, that on the chapter 15, on the Gospel, we are introduced to the real importance of charity. Of course, love is important, but what he's discussing in chapter 15 is much closer to charity than it is to the widespread, to the all possible interpretations of the word love. And that's one of the things that I want to focus today. It's going to be about charity, using chapter 15 closer to the French original version of the Gospel than it is to any of the translations. Some of us, we are bilingual. Most of us, we speak Portuguese and we speak English as well. Even amor and love may be the same translation, but they mean something different. When you say something, okay, love you, bye. In Portuguese, you hardly say, okay, te amo, ciao, or it's hard, So to make what we want to talk about here, we're going to use the word charity, which of course involves love. Okay, and love not necessarily may involve charity. So that's the one that we're going to focus now. Does it make sense? Mm-hmm. All right. So I'm not going against our translation, the one that we use here. I don't want to define that or whatever. But as you can see, there are several different translations for this, and that's the one that we're going to work on today. So everybody's capable of loving, right? Even like the mothers, they love their children. They may be killers. They may be in jail. Their mothers are going to love them. And those guys in jail, those killers, the people they adore the most usually is their mother that they write to. So everybody's capable of loving, but can you think that everybody's capable of practicing charity? That filters a lot, right? And when you're going to see what we're talking about charity, that's gonna make some difference. So let's see how we can develop that. One thing that if you ever helped someone, if you ever help an institution, if you have seen TV ads of people, usually white people in Africa, if the kids saying, I need your hands, may change this life. And they show a lot of people, usually it's a very smooth song in the back, and he goes like for almost 3 minutes showing this grace after this grace, trying to bring you into that. And that kind of, there's even an expression for it. They call the guilt trip. So several of the TV ads for, I'm gonna quote, charity, like those, they go into the guilt trip to try to get you to help their cause. Are they wrong? That's not what I'm debating here. But the first thing we have to think, why a lot of people, they try to get, okay, I have a cause here, either cancer or helping animals or helping the children at the shelter or whatever. I want people to help. The first thing that, or the most thing that I see, not all of them, but what we see a lot is, they try to get you using guilt. So where do we see that? We see that on those TV ads that we talk about, usually late in the night because it's less expensive. But then they put it, and those are long ads, and they show children in Central America that are miserable, in India, in Africa, in several places. That, of course, is heartbreaking, But there are several other entities out there that we can help. Those are the ones that have enough money to put the ad on TV to get you. So it's important to understand if you're going to help anyone or anything, what you're doing. How many of you guys already received on the mail, usually a thick letter with a lot of stickers with your name on it, your address, Mr. and Mrs., you know? And put like this. Even when I was single, I would receive this Mrs. I would get so mad. You know? There's no Mrs., guys. You know? And they send that, and sometimes they even include $1 on it. You know, to say, we are showing how much you can help. You know? That's their strategy. They are going into your guilt. You receive this, and you're gonna do nothing. You spend all this money to send to all these people. They're helping children. See, they're not trying to get your money to pay for a war or politicians. No, they're trying to help people, like other thousands of people, or charity that can do that. And those are the most appealing ones. Those are, for me, it's extremely difficult. Beggars, like everywhere. Like anyone that came from Brazil, came from a big city, you see every traffic light, you have not one but several beggars, and they're usually on a miserable state. Some of them, they don't have a choice, that's what happened. Not all of them. Others, usually they may be related to drug abuse, or they have a miserable life since an early age, or things like this. They're not guilty, or we cannot judge them for being on that state, but they may bring guilt out of you. But then, as you get your money out, are you doing charity or just buying yourself out of that responsibility, right? And that's a response for you to think of. If you say, okay, Kardec, I'm gonna do charity. Does this count as charity? You know, you have to think twice. You know, if you're actually just buying your way out, or if you're actually doing something. So, beware, because what these three guys, the three examples make you feel is responsible for them. So you're not talking about charity anymore. It's just like you must help them. If, of course, you feel that you have to, of course we can help. Of course, you know, you see beggars here in Austin, we have tons of homeless there, and some of them are so well rehearsed that they come on a way that they're gonna come directly to my heart and say, oh, you know what, here you go, you know. Am I really helping? If I give them money, we don't know. We cannot judge, but we simply don't know. What I'm trying to get here, and I want to get in one of these slides, is this. If you're considering doing any charity at all, going to start doing, the first thing you have to do is knowing where your effort, your money, or whatever you're doing is going. If you're going to help a house that hosts kids or whatever, try to learn as much as possible about the house. Today, online, you can find anything. You can find reputation, you can find on forums reviews about those things. You can do that. If you're going to help someone, or even beggars, try to learn the programs they have on that city, or where you're going to do, to see, here in Austin, there's a place, because of the name, Caritas of Austin. I don't know if any of you guys heard of this. Basically what they have is downtown Austin, they serve a meal without asking who or why. Okay, lunchtime everybody, that's where most of the homeless people, they eat. And right beside it, you have a shelter for them. So, unfortunately, the number of homeless people in Austin is increasing a lot. They're not being able to host everybody, but we do have a shelter here in Austin. So, basically what I'm saying is this, it's not always that those people are going to sleep on the street and they don't have money to eat. You have to think, okay, if I give them money, what are they going to do with that? You're going to help someone, try to learn about that person. You may be helping even more if you just listen to what they have to say. So, if the TV ads convince you enough that you're responsible, they're going to work on that, because the more responsible you feel, the bigger is going to be your donation. I receive letters, I'm guilty as one can be, and past lives may explain that, but I receive all the letters, and they know exactly how they're going to put on the letter to make me go to the very last check and put, okay, I'm donating, you know, that much money for this program because, oh my God, look at them. And then when they're going to see I cannot pay my bills because all of them convinced that I need to pay everybody else's bills. So, being a Spiritist, I cannot say that you are not, but I can say that, remember that you may or may not be responsible for their misery, right? You may be, we don't know. But we may not be either. So what do? we have to be honest to ourselves. We have always to elevate our thoughts. We have also, the more we elevate our thoughts, the more we'll be able to receive the suggestions of what to do at that moment. A lot of beggars, do you guys can imagine what type of spirits are surrounding them? You know, these people may be involved with all sort of substance abuse. Again, we're not judging. That's a reality. Not, oh, it's wrong what they do. No, how many times we did that as well? And what type of friends we end up surrounded by. So, if you lower your energy, you're gonna be on the same symphonia, on the same vibration that they are. So, the guys are gonna come and suggest to you, hey, help this guy, because as you give more money to them, they can buy more alcohol, they can buy more drugs, and can feed not only them, but all the spirits around them. So as a spiritist, we have to think about that as well. No, it's not, don't help. Try to see the big picture. How am I helping? If we always keep, I know, you're in traffic, you're late, can I keep my vibration high? Yeah, you can try. Because again, only when you're driving that you're going to stop on a traffic light and you're going to see a beggar, right? So try to keep your energy high. So, and always remember that, have you seen, like, we know of Mother Teresa. She's like charity as impersonated as more can be. Like, she had no life other than helping other people. How many other we even know that they do all that? So are they all like superhumans? They do that because we can't? So, several people that are extremely charitable at this life, they are not a bit better than we are. They may be only one life ahead than we are, or maybe two. You know, they may be as guilty as we are, or even more, with debits from the past. And that's how they choose to pay their debits. So when we see someone that is extremely charitable, that doesn't mean that person's better and that you cannot do what they do. No. No, if they do, you can do as well. If you think they help like that, I know people that they simply go to a poor house and paint outside the house on the weekends, Saturday morning, or every 2 weeks, to help the neighborhood be looking prettier, but usually in ugly neighborhoods. Charge nothing for that, but he gets a lot of other people. Oh, yeah, let's do it. And exercise and paint stuff, we're gonna see a little bit about that effect. Is this person better than anyone? No. It could be simply pain. But so, here on the book club, we recently read a book called Action and Reaction. I don't know how many of you had a chance to read this book. In Portuguese, Ação e Reação. And most of André Luiz's books, they describe what he's learning after he died. He just got into this spiritual city called Nosso Lar, or Astral City, and he's a student, he's learning, he's an intern. And so he did like 3 years with one very special instructor called Druso. And Druso was like a man, 100 lives from now, that's where I want to be, you know? Like, he's extremely knowledgeable, extremely well-balanced. He would listen to everybody, be patient, and always come up with something incredible. His son was Silas, an instructor. He was called there an assistant, and they would go to the worst place on, I may call Earth, but you know, on the umbral area, you know, and rescue some of the people there, and they would understand this action and reaction. They would understand why people are there. I will not tell the end of the book if you guys ever want to read, but action and reaction. These two, both Silas and Druso, that were amazing spirits, they need to come back. You know, their death is far worse than a lot of the people that they rescued. You know, so as part of their plan for next incarnation is gonna be taking care of some of the people that they brought problems in the past. So don't feel ever diminished by the grandiosity of the work of some people. So if you know a lot of people that do a lot of charity and that sometimes you may feel like, man, I do nothing, and I call myself Spiritist, you know, and I don't. Say it again?
Just do it.
Exactly, just do it. And I said, but I will never be able to do what Chico does. Oh, if you want, you can. You may not write 400 books, but That was not the only thing he did. You know, you have Divaldo Pereira Franco traveling the entire road. He's 87 years old, I think, and he still keeps with his mansion. And so, yes, we can follow their example. They show it can be done. It is possible, right? And as you try it, I don't know if you guys ever tried to go any place where there is misery and they just dedicate your time to do something. We do on the shelter. People do where the elderly may live and they have problems with a lot of things. As you just try those things, as you leave, of course you may feel the misery for them, but it's a different feeling, a way different feeling than when you started. As you start helping people, we can explain. It's just like, what's the feeling that you had when you were first told that you're pregnant? You can't explain to anyone. It's a feeling that you cannot compare with anyone else. Oh, when your first child is born, you cannot explain. The same thing about when you do charity. Like, you really forget about yourself, selfless. Okay, I'm gonna help this. What am I gonna gain with this? Just do it. Just do it. At the end, you know, you don't even need to tell me. At the end, just tell yourself what you feel about what you just did. All right, so if in the beginning I was discussing if we were talking about love or charity, I tried to see what was the first time on Spiritism that the word charity came up. So based on the Spirit's book, on the question 886, we, could be us, you know, we asked the Spirit of Truth, what is the true meaning of the word charity as implied by Jesus? And then I put a lot of things, but I'm gonna just read the bold letter. So, benevolence for everyone, indulgence for the imperfections of others, forgiveness of injuries. Is he saying anything about donating money to charity? Is he saying anything, okay, I saw this TV ad, I need to donate that? Or I know the shelter in Austin, I need to donate money to that. Of course, it helps. If you ever try to do any non-profits, you need the income to make that happen. But that's not the only way that you can do charity. So, the Spirit of Truth explains what Jesus wanted for that. Benevolence, indulgence for the imperfection, forgiveness of injuries. Which one of these is the most difficult one to do? I gotta just give a hint. Right? And that, you know, this guy, he knows much more about life than I do, you know? And if he's saying that that's what Jesus explains about charity, that's one thing we all have to work on. So if you have anything to forgive, anyone that you have to forgive, work on it, you know? Because then, Kardec explains, charity according to Jesus is not restricted to giving, right? There's quite indulgence on our part because we need the same ourselves. So we need to do that. When we do charity, we are receiving. We need to do that. Okay? And most important, and then I'll comment later, it forbids us to humiliate them. And that's a hard thing to do as well. Like, when you're gonna help someone, it's hard to do it in a way that you will not humiliate that person. Of course, when you know that someone is just always getting from you, you need not to be stupid either. You're not helping in charity. Someone that always asks for money is one thing, you know. So, or always telling the problems, outside the problem, not getting any better, not even listening to what you're saying. I'm not sure if you're helping much there, but basically, if you're gonna tell someone something, do not humiliate. If you're gonna put some money there, don't humiliate. Don't make it look like, okay, I'm saving you, poof, and put in there. At least that's what I understand that this guy is saying. Does anyone understand this differently? I'm impressed. All the ladies are silent. Really interesting this.
We're being charitable.
Appreciate it. So, the last thing that I put on bold, and if I put on bold, I thought it would be important reading, if I don't remember what it was, is he who is really kind endeavors to raise his inferior in his own estimation by diminishing the distance between them. Basically, you know, we are putting ourselves in the same situation as whoever we are helping. we could be that person in the past, or we can even be that person in the future. So, again, we're not better than anyone. We're not better than Chico, but we're not better than the beggar either. So, you may be there as well. So, let's see what my animation is wrong, but what the people say that charity is. So, a few definitions. If you look on Wikipedia, you know, no one talks about the Encyclopedia Britannica anymore, you know. So, Wikipedia.
British Encyclopedia.
Exactly, the British Encyclopedia. I didn't know if they would say Britannica Encyclopedia. So, based on Wikipedia, charity is the practice of benevolence, giving, and caring. Makes sense, right? But that's it. You don't see any other meaning. But then becomes the Christian theological concept of unlimited love and kindness. So that goes more of one type of love, which is unlimited love and kindness. Oh, this is a good way to put love. So if I would retranslate that, without love there is no salvation, I still prefer about charity there is no salvation. But if I'm going to use love, I would put without unlimited love and kindness, there is no salvation. This completes that sentence. I think. You guys agree? Mm-hmm. Good. So, St. Thomas Aquinas, one of the biggest theologians in the very beginning of the Christianity, he goes even deeper. He explains that charity is the friendship of men for God, which unites us to God. So if we go back, when we do charity, that feeling that we feel after we do that, and we are leaving or going back home, that feeling, that's what I think is the closest that you have that unites us to God. You're not praying, you're not, let's say, doing the any sort of reflection, or basically you're doing what Jesus told us to do. And he knew what he was saying when he told us to do that, because as we do this, we have the feeling that that's the closest that I think it is that unites us to God. He also defined as the most excellent of the virtues. And the habit of charity not only extends the love for God, but do you guys remember the two most important commandments that Jesus gave? So we have the 10 commandments. So everybody came to Jesus. Okay, which ones are the most important ones? Do you guys remember which are the two ones? Okay, love God, right? And love your neighbor, right? So it looks like charity can be the link for you to do that. So at the end, as you do that, you can love your neighbor, right? So, is it really important to love your neighbor? According to Jesus, and we have here in bold, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Or, in clear English, love the other, as you love yourself. Of course, you first have to love yourself, right? Mm-hmm. So, because if you don't, you're gonna love, well, you guys know it won't work. So, on these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. I studied a little bit to learn on other religions what they would say about this. That's the one point, but the one point that every single religion that I read about, and that includes Muslim, that includes Buddhism, that includes Hinduism. This part here is the one that's in common with everybody. Even love God is not common. There are some sections of Buddhism, and they say, forget about God, you cannot reach there. Care about yourself first. On those lives that you have on earth, forget about God, you won't get there. So try just to get out of those cycle of reincarnations. This they have in common. That's how you can get that. If you love your neighbor, if you do to the others as they expect them doing to you, right? Which, on the biblical rate, is to do to others whatever you would like them to do to you. It is the essence of all that is taught in the law and the prophets. And that's, according to Matthew and Luke, that's what Jesus said, right? So, you can put that sticker there and say that you love your neighbor. So, doing that, you're gonna be good. All right, so on the,
André,
yes,
what do you mean by no salvation? What's no salvation?
oh, that's a good question. That's a good question. So, without love, there is no salvation. You're gonna get there. I'm gonna check, I will not be able to read this. This is French. So let me get here. Basically, this guy here that we're talking about now, Paul, he's gonna bring us up to date on this. So, you guys know that on the Spirit's book, or actually on the Gospel according to Spiritism, we had a lot of messages from several different spirits. Some of them identify themselves, others just like a protector spirit, you know, a friend, or a guardian spirit, or like this. This guy here now identified very clearly himself who he was. Paul, the apostle, that the same one that wrote the epistle to the Corinthians about charity, he also came back when the Spiritism started and went to, let's say, to the group where Kardec was compiling all the messages, and he brought a new message about charity. And he's the one that came with, without charity there is no salvation. Paul, the apostle. Let's see why he says that, how we're talking about that. So, according to him, within this sentence is enclosed the destiny of mankind, both on earth and heaven. Yeah, he was always very dramatic, yeah, and very intense. So, on earth, because beneath the shadow of this banner, all may live in peace. And in heaven, because those who have practiced with S, it will find grace in God's eyes. So let's see what Paul, the apostle, so the guy pretty much created Christianity. Before him, like only those 12 guys that, you know, knew Jesus in Jerusalem were talking about Jesus. He's the one who spread it out to the world. He's already up there and even spoke with the Kardec group to talk about the Spiritism. So he's saying basically that with charity, there may be peace. Without it, we may all not live in peace. Are we on earth any closer to living in peace? Can you guys imagine how it would be possible? We know there are other evolved words that, you know, according even to the gospel, that are other words way more evolved than earth is, that people actually live in some sort of peace, or what we can imagine that would be peace, right? So I would associate salvation, not only our own salvation, but as humanity in general. That's, if you put this, if every one of us put this in practice, which basically do to the others, and would expect them doing to you, if someone needs something and you can help, you will. As you need help, someone's gonna help you. That sounds like it's gonna be a very good place to live, right? Mm-hmm. Imagine the whole planet like this. Now it will work for me, right? Mm-hmm. And as we do this, as we get up there, it looks like the big boss is gonna like it too, right? We're gonna find grace in God's eyes. So he also puts very dramatically that this phrase is the celestial beacon, the luminous column which will guide mankind in life's desert. If I understand that correctly, he's saying that we are in the desert right now. And this is the light that's gonna get us out. Does it make sense to you? How this is associated to salvation? All right, so Paul also goes even further to say that at the end, submit all your activities to be administered by charity and your conscience will respond. Basically says, okay, do I quit my job today and start putting TV ads and begging people for money and go to Africa to rescue the kids and teach them to read and write? Okay, that's a little too much. I wanted to do that, but It's too hard. No, but it's basically saying that to submit all your activities. That means, do you have to quit your job? No, you can keep working, but we know when you go into business, when you get to the office, when you go to work, you know, life it is what it is. So sometimes you say that, well, it is what it is. Can we keep being Spiritists on traffic?
Yes.
Can you still be Spiritists in our work, in our daily activities?
Yes.
That's pretty much what I understand here. You know, if we do everything that we do nowadays, and by charity, that may mean something that we even do and we don't realize, which means you stop and let the kid cross in front of you, or let the pedestrian cross, or the bike cross, or the elderly, without, of course, honking. You're gonna kill them with a heart attack, but you know, and wait until they cross in front of you, and then you drive. Be patient with the people that you are teaching at work, because someone taught you at work what you're doing now. You may believe that you're self-sufficient. I don't think anyone got all the way up there by themselves. Maybe Steve Jobs did, or Bill Gates, but you can count how many went all the way up there that may not even be by themselves, right? And then I find it very interesting. This goes completely with what they talk about Spiritism. This will not only cause you to avoid doing evil, but it will also make you do good. So if you decide to do this on your daily life, on your activities, you will always be doing good, because, you know, not doing negative is not enough. You know, you have to do positive. It is necessary to possess an active virtue. So I compiled here among, you know, 100 different benefits of doing charity work, things that would, I don't know, make me want to, okay, let me see if that convinces me doing some charitable work. So the first thing I already talked about, it makes you feel good after that. When you touch someone else's life, you feel good that you did that. When you donate time or even some money, but you see the result, you get some sense of purpose in life. That is priceless. There's no way to explain what it is unless you do that. What I can say is that this brings you inner satisfaction. And I put here this guy here called Chico Xavier, that besides writing the books and donating all the proceeds from the books to charity, what he did on his Spiritist group, on the Luis Gonzaga, for all the people around it, in Uberaba, everything, is way far beyond what I think can be done. The second, supporting a cause, and you can pick any cause, may keep you informed about issues of social injustice, and then may even help you deciding if you're going to vote for someone. Let's say that you choose a politician that goes completely against what you believe, but you had no idea, because the TV ad, he posted himself as, you know, the right person that you have to vote. You know, so this may help you understand a little bit what things are happening as well. These are some of the charity groups that I believe are worth mentioning. Those are big entities. I researched, I believe, enough about them to say that they're credible. So you're thinking, okay, how can I get started? Austin Children's Shelter in Austin. This is one group that we go every month, and basically they host children that were taken away from usually their parents, that they were abused, and then social service comes, okay, let's protect this case. They take to the shelter while the legal procedures happen, to either they go to other house or get adopted or go to other relatives or things like this. Those kids, they have a horrible experience. Imagine, to be taken away from their parents. They were really abused, for the state to think that they have to protect them from their own parents. So there's always something good that we can do there. This Saturday, actually, we are going there, and it's playing soccer, and we're gonna do art craft. Who's helping with this? Yeah? So that's a very good place to go. Some more. I don't know if you guys ever heard about the Doctors Without Borders. If there is any disgrace on earth, they're gonna be there. And that means war, that means hurricane, that means if there are war zones, even civil war, those guys are there. I don't know how they make it, but they always make it there. you know. Red Cross, you know, first response to any tragedy. UNICEF, they use a lot of celebrities to try to get their money, but they have a very good reach. I learned a lot about SOS Africa, and there are way too many entities trying to help Africa there. They're still miserable, so there's still something to be done there. That's one of them that I think they're more credible. You may have heard of the Mansão do Caminho, from Divaldo Pereira Franco. They educate people. Every day they receive hundreds of people during the day. They teach women even to do basic stuff so they can get a job as a domestic employee, like to clean the floor. Some people, they go there, they don't even know how to use a mop or something. So they teach this so people can work. So you're not just donating, you're teaching people how to live their lives, right? And some of you guys may know from Brazil, there is just one Anglican church in Brazil, actually in São Paulo. And this guy, his name is Aldo. And it's the smallest church, if you think about big churches in Brazil, is São Paulo on the south zone. They run 6, how do they call daycares or creches, you know, inside the slums, inside the favelas. Each one of those creches, they have over 600 kids. Zero money from the state. Zero money from the state. They do them all. Basically, what this guy does is on the service, he does whatever the rituals that they do, and basically he opens the Excel sheet and say, is this how much was donated? This is how much this creche specifically needs because of the roof, or this one needs this and that. So he get people from the audience saying, okay, I'm gonna do the roof. Okay, I'm gonna redo the toilets. So they keep this thing running inside some of the worst favelas of São Paulo. He can walk by and help, and you know, he gets paid 3,000 reais a month for his basically needs. So if there is one good example of charity that has nothing to do with Spiritism, but is Christian, so we can do it. So, third, you wanna get fit?
Yes.
You wanna burn some calories?
Yes.
Being helpful? All right, so it may help you doing some charity. You know, when we were researching what we could do here, I guess I remember that Aline and Dea, you guys even went somewhere that they were doing some gardening under the sun. I'm sorry, under the Texas sun.
Right.
You know, this may help you burn a few calories, right?
You get a tan too.
Well,
Get a little tan with some
you
water.
get some tan,
Vitamin
right?
D.
Yes, and if you go this weekend at the shelter, we're gonna play soccer. So you're gonna burn some calories there as well. And when we play basketball, we burn calories there too. So pretty much you can get fit doing some charity. This can help you. So you may consider this. I put this as, you know, a third thing that will help you deciding how you're gonna do charity. And that means, for instance, pulling wheelchairs, or pushing actually, wheelchairs, gardening, help building. So Katrina came, devastated whole New Orleans. Can you help? Yeah. So I saw, for instance, Brad Pitt there actually helping putting some of the house together. He came with money too, but he helped a lot also with some of the manual work. So you can stay fit by doing this. If you do this, you're gonna keep our blood circulating, you're gonna burn calories, and you're gonna give you strength to carry on for a day. Right? It's a quite efficient medicine against emotional issues. And this, I'm not talking, it's not like I think this. Okay, I try to research some credible researchers that they say, yes, this is what I believe. After you see someone else's misery way worse than yours, you're gonna keep focused on solving their problems. You may forget about yours. So this may, at least during that time, take your mind away from depression, anxiety, panic, and much more. Since it keeps you focused on their problem that you're solving now. Or not on the problem, on the game that you're playing with them, on the art that you're teaching. This is gonna take your mind out. As you do more and more, it's more time that you're away from those things that keep coming back to you, those ghosts, all right? And it's impossible to do charity isolated. So this keeps you away from isolation. This is one of the 5 benefits. So, doing charity out of spiritual conviction will strengthen your spiritual life. If whatever religion you follow, they encourage you to do charity, that's gonna make you feel like I'm doing the right thing. So this may help you. I'm not saying you have to be Spiritist, I'm not saying you have to be even Christian, because again, I've seen this in every single religion. The Muslims, they talk a lot. If you go back to Muhammad, he goes back into charity a lot. What happened after him is something else, but as you go to the roots, he's another one that talk strong about that. So all religions support some sort of charity, because they all agree about doing to the others as you would have them done to you. But this is one of the most important pillars of Spiritism. So what you can do, donate your time, donate your skills, donate your mediumship if you're a Spiritist. So you can help incarnated and discarnated, and help an institute if you want. You know, there are a lot of them that we can help. So as Spiritist, this is, you know, a recipe of that can help you with your conviction about your spiritual life. And this is very interesting too, right? Donations are tax deductible, all of them. If you donate to any entity, doesn't matter if it's your Spiritist center, if it's Doctor Beyond Borders, anywhere, that's tax deductible. So you're choosing where your money is going to. Not necessarily you're paying the tax and they will decide what you do with this. Sometimes they have good decisions, sometimes they buy Pasadena, but you know, you may, you know what your money is doing. And this is, you know, almost every country that I looked, all the charity donations are tax deductible. That includes Brazil, that includes here in the US. They could raise a little bit, you know, the percentage that can be deductible, but it's good, okay? And that includes, if you ever gonna do that, travel, parking costs, convention event fees, anything that you're doing for non-profits, that's the tax deductible. Keep your receipts. If you went to the symposium, keep your receipts. You know, this all can be deducted. And we're gonna have the symposium now in Dallas, October. So, you know, put how much gas you're doing. As it adds up, you know, you may be able to receive some of the money back. All right? So, some people that have nothing to do with religions, and they do charity just out of their own decisions. You guys know that singer Alicia Keys? Mm-hmm. So, she does everything. She sings, she dances, she writes, she does like everything. She came from Brooklyn, New York, you know, not the best place to raise someone. She runs an organization called Keep a Child Alive. I learned about her through this organization. In the beginning, when she started, she decided to help some families in South Africa. A few families that, you guys know that the worst problem they have in Africa is not poverty only, is not dictatorship only, is AIDS. Mm-hmm. Basically, 70% of the continent is contaminated by some sort of AIDS, and they keep spreading it out. So she keeps running in 4 countries, and the 4 countries are like Congo, South Africa, Central African Republic. I forgot the other one. I'm not sure if it's Uganda, but it's like on the center where they have most of the, I forgot the first one, problems, and also in some areas in India. She keeps schools and education and food and medication for children with HIV, that they acquired HIV from their parents when they were born. Did you guys know about that? Mm-hmm. Cool, right? Mm-hmm. She does that, and to find all this information out, you need to dig a lot. She doesn't use that as personal promotion. She does that because she feels she has to do that, right? Brazilians, you may know who Ayrton Senna is, right?
Oh yeah.
You know, like May is the month that everybody reminds that when he disincarnated, right, 20 years ago. So only after he died, we learned how silent he helped a lot of entities and people. People had the money come, they didn't know what's coming from him. And he would visit hospitals with terminal ill patients, with kids with cancer, whatever. without announcing that he was going. He knew he was an idol. He used that just to help people to, wow, Ayrton Senna is here. TV wouldn't show, he wouldn't tell TV, he would never use that as his to self-promote, right? And you ask Alicia Keys, what's her religion? You're gonna say, yeah, I don't like religions. You ask Ayrton Senna, oh, I love church, empty. When there's nobody there, that's where I like to stay. You know, he said that a bunch of times. And then, okay, these guys, they may use a little bit of that for self-promotion, but we have to understand they're Bill and Melinda Gates. You know, they're zillionaires. And from all their money, if I'm not mistaken, you guys may correct if you know better than I do, but I guess only 5% are gonna go to their heirs. All the rest is for the foundation. And what their foundation do, they go to a lot of developing countries, and they help a lot to develop education, generic medication, to countries that they don't have the money to do that. Do they care? Do they go to Afghanistan? They go to India, they go to South America, to several different religions or countries where the religions are different, and they go there, they don't care about that. So I admire them that they decided with all the zillions that they have that, okay, that's what I have to do, right? And you guys may have heard of Gandhi. Did he donated money or things like that? No, his biggest contribution that I believe was to promote a bloodless revolution. Like, there was not a single drop of blood. He didn't get any arms. And he showed that that is possible. If you just, okay, in peace make that happen, you can make something change. And he will be forever remembered. And he was killed, you know, and he didn't react, right? If you ask him, he was in India. In India, we may think that everybody, I don't know, this one country, they may have one religion that is more like Hindi. Even without the Hindu, they have several different divisions, like we have on Christianity, right? Or even Muslim, they have the Shiites and the Sunnites, and within them they have different types, and the same on Buddhism. If you ask Gandhi, what's our religion? He would say, none. I don't care about that. You know, and he was killed because his family and everybody, they were Hindus. And some extreme Hindus, they said that he couldn't deny that he was Hindu. And he was denying that. So he was supposed to scream a lot, I'm Hindu. You know, so they believe that he was betraying the Hindus. But he helped the Hindus. He was one of the ones that let the Muslims be by themselves. He didn't want Pakistan to separate from India. But say, okay, if that's what you really want, okay, just do that. You know, without, okay, let's go to war and not let them split from them. So, and at the very end, I put down here that you probably know some people like this as well, right? These are only some that I brought here. And since you're Spiritists, let's talk a little bit about some of our Spiritist fellows, what they did. So Allan Kardec, before he was Allan Kardec, he was Hippolyte Léon Denisard Ripaille, the professor from the Pestalozzi Institute, right? He used to give free classes to a lot of people. Way before Paul came to him and said, without charity there is no salvation. And you know how much effort it is to teach classes. We have teachers here, right? Mm-hmm. And just because he thought that it was needed to people, what would he teach? I will not remember the 8 things, but he would teach science, math, German, French, English. He would teach, well, there are other 3 things I don't remember now, but he would give 8 classes for free on his Pestalozzi, institute that he wrote way before he saw the turning tables. He was doing that. Chico Xavier, Chico Xavier, like we would pronounce in English, 420 something books. Did he keep any of that money? No. Think about like selling millions of books if you're selling for $1 each. Now imagine that like 400 times, how much money he could have raised for himself, right? That's a very hard thing to do. We know a lot of people that they start writing those books and at the end of the day they decide to, okay, you know what, part of this I should keep, you know, that's It's very difficult to do. You see all that money coming and you're going to donate all that. He could do that. He knew nothing was from him. But not only that, all the work that he was doing on his Spiritist center for the community around him. If you guys ever read his life or you saw the movie about the abacateiro, that he would sit there once a week and basically talk to him. You know, that's what they wanted, to talk to him. And all the letters, if you guys ever have a chance to watch the movie, The Mothers of Chico Xavier, as mentioned Chico Xavier, the Mother of Chico Xavier, what he did for the mothers, writing letters from their departed children. And that's a lot. Bezerra de Menezes, he was a politician, he was extremely correct on everything that he would do, until he learned about Spiritism. We're talking about on the 1800s here. We're talking about a Brazil that had slavery still. And this guy, he was a doctor, and he basically said, it doesn't matter what time it is, what distance it is, if someone needs help, everyone should help, not only the doctor, everyone should help. And that's pretty much how he lives his whole life. And after he assumed to everybody that he was a Spiritist, that's pretty much what he did for the rest of his life. So, and up to this day, a lot of groups out there, Spiritist Center, if you look for Spiritist Center Bezerra de Menezes, you're going to see how many lives he touched. And according to the books, he's still helping from there, and with teams that are guided by him, so he didn't stop there. Tanya has been researching a lot about Euripides Barçanufo, right? He died at the early age of 38 years, and he was considered the apostle of charity. From a very early age, in a very Catholic family, he decided to say, you know what, I like Spiritism. And again, it was in the very early of the century, of the 1900s. And he decided to change the way he would see things, and he opened a school called the Kardec School. And basically the whole city wanted to be there, not because of, he wouldn't be doing the scientific phenomena or the miracles that will help everybody. The miracle that he would do is basically work without stopping and teaching people it for free, again. And we had, back in 2011, the chance to have here in Austin, Edivaldo Franco. He gave us a great talk, and he showed the work that they do at the Mansão do Caminho in Salvador, Bahia. If you guys know about Brazil, you know how miserable Bahia can be in some neighborhoods. Some people there, they don't have the minimum. They are always welcome at the Mansão do Caminho. They don't say, okay, be Spiritist to be here. No. They don't say, okay, stay here. After I talk to you, then you can eat. No. And basically, they don't only give away food. They educate people. They teach them how to be able to follow up with their lives, listening and giving instructions on them to do. So, what can I do to help? Thumbs up. What, in the light of Spiritism, can be considered a charity good enough to be able to put a check on my way to salvation? Because no, without charity there's no salvation. Suggestions. First, watch yourself and your thoughts. Don't judge. This is already some form of charity. What happens as a Spiritist, we know, when we think about someone, do we send any type of waveforms and vibrations to the person?
Yes.
Exactly, we are doing this, right? So, as we are judging, can you imagine what type of vibration we're sending to them? Okay, it will help a lot if you don't send it. And if you can even improve, as we think that we should be judging someone, hey, come on. Yeah. Sorry about that. All right, so if we think about that, we can avoid doing this. So pray so you can forgive whoever you have to forgive. Whatever you think that, you know, should have done that to you, and we know we all have someone that we think, okay, pray. Not for the person, for you, so you can forgive them. That person will have the benefit from you forgiving them too. But you are the one who's going to receive the most benefit out of that. Listen with an open heart. And if we speak speak with open heart. So you're going to be listening to someone, not judging. And if you're going to speak, think about, okay, would I like to hear things that I'm hearing the way I'm hearing? Think about the way you're going to put that out. I don't have time to do charity. I'm a single father. I help with the Spiritist group. I work 6 hours a week. I play in a rock band. And I have a family. And what else do I do? I work. You know? So I don't have time for that. You know, my son has soccer, and well, yes, he has soccer exactly the time that we go to the shop. But you can make time if you want. It doesn't have to be, oh, I have to go to the. No, you can make time for charity. If you decide, okay, where am I gonna put that? You can make time. I will not tell you what to do. If you try, you'll find it. Always elevate your thoughts. You only decide what you're gonna do. Think higher. Come to the happy meditation hour. You're gonna elevate your thoughts. You're gonna let your intuition, as you guys saw, I quoted that. Your intuition guides you where you are needed and where you can be benefit as you help, right? Try your best to be regular on a volunteer work and support a cause, an institution, or a family. Whatever you decide to do, try to be regular on it. They're gonna count on you. Not that they should, but we will. Whatever entity you decide to help, and you start to help, they're gonna count on that money coming in. So try to be regular. That's gonna help a lot with the planning whoever's doing. And we all have skills that we learned this life, some that we remembered from past lives and that we are developing. We can use this to help. So we are starting here in the group. I don't know exactly when, but we are trying to put together a group that we start English as second language. So people that know how to teach, they decided to offer their time to teach people English as a second language. You can read for people that can't anymore. Maybe they are blind, maybe they don't know how to read. Some people cannot write. You can write for them. You can play with kids. You can move someone that's moving from one apartment to the other. You can help, and you don't need to expect anything back. They're going to help you someday, somehow, as well. Organize furniture. There's a lot of things that we can do, and all of them that I put, they can help you stay fit, right? But at the end, this is an interesting one. Help without being desperate. If you elevate your thoughts and you want to help, you got to identify the situation where you're the most needed. Right? So, thumbs down. What I think that I'm helping and I'm not necessarily helping. If you're humiliate with our assistance, I like this sentence the way I say it. Don't make it a display of power over pity. That's the worst way of humiliating someone, right? Okay, I have the power to help you. We can do this with beggars several times when you help them, right? Or when you think that you're helping. Always know who you're helping. And get to know the charitable organization that you're contributing. If you're just helping and you have no idea where the money is going to, I'm not sure that you're helping. I'm not sure that your charity is actually worth. You should spend time learning how you're doing this, right? And always remember that there is a divine justice. Help, but don't let anyone make you feel responsible for someone's misery. If that spirit is going through that hard time, it may be charity out of you to let that person pay the debt that the person has to do. You can alleviate it if it's, if the person deserves that. Of course, you're not the ones who decide if that's worth or not, but we can do this. What else can we do to say that we can help? And what shouldn't we do? Yeah, I know, I talk a lot. I was even able to keep most of the ladies.
I have something to say, as usual, right? But this is a very good, this is a lembrete, como fala lembrete? Reminder, because we, especially as Spiritists, we always working in our inner transformation, and doing our gospel at home, and let's work with our family members and our friends, and let's be charitable in that way. But the light that you brought, and the light, the gospel that the book brings, that Paul brought to charity, is really get out of your comfort zone. And it's easy to help people, you know. But when you get out of the comfort zone and really start working and helping and listening and doing whatever it is that you're doing with people that you have no idea who they are, just because they are a fellow human being, that is really, in my view now, the path to salvation, to a better world. Without that, forget it. There's nothing we can do that we can
Just give it a try.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
If you're not charitable on traffic, try to be.
Right.
If you're not charitable helping institutions, try to do it. If you're not charitable listening to people, just give it a try. Just just do the first step. So start now, right? So we can do it.
By my experience, I understand that when you help someone, you're being helped in the way you need the most. And I just want to remind us all about something that I was reminded earlier by someone else, that it's good when you help someone, but it's very good when you can also help your family and the people there are there with you every day, for us not to forget about them either.
Forgetting about them will not be any charity at all.
Exactly. And just going back to that phrase that you bought, love your neighbor as you love yourself, you know, loving ourselves too, being charitable to ourselves too, being aware of things that we need to do in order to be healthy and well balanced emotionally and physically, to be able to help others. Remembering that too.
It's a cycle. One thing's going to help the other. As you help yourself, going to help others. Helping others, going to help yourself. So you can start the cycle. If you only take care of yourself, you're not helping. If you're not helping others, you're not helping. So you bring the cycle. All right. So because of time, we're going to end now. Thank you guys for your attention. Let's stay.